Manila, capital of the Philippines, in the hell of the morning traffic jams. This metropolis of 10 million inhabitants awakes, already choked by exhaust fumes. Right in the center of the city, the Vitas refuse dump. Because of the smoke and toxic vapors, Filipinos call it Smoky Mountain. Every morning is rush hour in this giant open-air garbage can. Up to their ankles in filth, hundreds of rag pickers watch the trucks unload. Many of them are children, an unlikely ballet where each rushes forward to get the choicest morsels. Two French priests, Father Thomas and Abbé Matthieu, seem to be the only people who are concerned about the kids who live on the dump. They've put people in the garbage can. Their life is the dump 24 hours a day. It's garbage cans. It's like hell on earth. Hell on earth. Can you imagine anything worse? You're in your home. Where's the worst place you can hide? The garbage can. Can you imagine anything worse? Born in Versailles 31 years ago, Abbé Matthieu arrived in the Philippines in 1998 to do overseas aid work. He joined Father Thomas, 49. This Jesuit priest from the Corrèze had just created a humanitarian association, a Bridge for the Children Foundation. When they discovered the conditions the rag pickers of Manila lived under, the two priests decided to come to their aid. Because of the smell that becomes impregnated right into the skin, the rag pickers are the most marginalized amongst the poor. Because even if they go into the shanty towns across the street, where there are no rag pickers, the people don't want them because of their awful smell. The two priests know almost everyone on the dump. Behind the apparent chaos, they discovered a society with its own codes and its own hierarchy. There are pickers who have the right to collect the more precious metals, others have the right to collect scrap metal, and others to collect plastic. So each one has his speciality according to seniority, the authority that one picker may have over the others. It's the law of the jungle. A jungle in which the most daring get first pick. When the garbage trucks arrive, accidents often happen. I don't know how many bacteria there are per square inch here. Father Thomas takes us to the edge of the dump. That's where the wholesalers buy bags of garbage by the pound. Drinks cans, food cans, or common plastic garbage. It's all recycled. A little further away, Father Thomas insists on showing us a local speciality. You find it in these small restaurants on the edge of the garbage mountain. Bits of chicken, retrieved from packaging from the fast food outlets of Manila, collected directly from the garbage. The chicken is put in boiling oil and fried all over again, so as to try and kill some of the germs. It's not really a very effective means, and I certainly wouldn't recommend eating it. A portion costs 20 pesos, about 30 euro cents. That's more than a quarter of daily earnings on the dump. The most vulnerable are, of course, the children. The oldest aren't even yet 10 years old. Unaware of the danger, they burrow all day long, inches from the bulldozers. Look at that little kid over there in red, near the bulldozer. He doesn't even have shoes. He's barefoot. And since there's even refuse from hospitals here, it's potentially catastrophic. The kids could become infected with all sorts of diseases. And a child was killed here last year. He died when he fell in and was suffocated by the garbage. Another danger lies in this dance between the diggers and the garbage trucks. Jesse boy lost parts of 2 fingers climbing onto a garbage dumpster.
Umangkas po ako ng truck, tapos nasa gilid-gilid ako.
I climbed up the side of the trunk, and when the rear platform went up, my hand got caught, and then I realized that my hand was crushed. And then I shouted, "Mummy, Mummy." Then they put me in the truck, and that's when I passed out. At the back of the dump, the layer of garbage is several meters deep, but successive sorting hasn't left much to collect. And yet there are still children scouring the ground. Reynaldo is 8. He spends 10 hours a day digging, hunting for tiny pieces of metal. For 2 years, Abbe Matthieu has been trying to get him out of here.
Anong edad mo nung
How old were you when you came here for the first time?
ilang taon?
Anim.
6.
Sabihin mo na lang yung ano.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Ilang mga kapatid mo?
12 po. Namatay po doon.
12, but 2 of them are dead.
Yung mga magulang mo?
And where are your parents?
Nasa ano po?
They're at home. My sister Mary Jane is with them. She goes to school.
Yung kapatid ko po si Mary Joy nandaron, nag-aaral.
Nag-aaral? Sa school?
Bibigyan
And don't you go to school?
Ikaw. Hindi ka nag-aaral?
No. Why not?
Ba't hindi ka nag-aaral?
Wala po. Wala pa.
We don't have any money to pay for school.
Sa eskwela.
Pagod ka na?
Are you tired?
No? Sakit sa likod?
Does your back hurt?
Fatigue, il a mal parti mon dos en fait.
He's got backache.
Je comprends, non?
Yeah. At the end of the day, Reynaldo goes to sell what he's collected to the scrap metal merchant at the edge of the dump. For 2 big bags, a total of 15 kilos of metal, he gets 68 pesos, hardly more than €1. The merchant will resell the metal for twice the price.
Magkano ng
20 uli ah!
How much did you make?
magkano ka na?
68 pesos. But I still owe him change. That's okay, you can keep the 2 pesos.
Saan ka na pupunta?
And where are you going now?
Sige, punta tayo sa mama.
I'm going to see my mother. A simple ditch dug in the pile of garbage separates the dump from the place where Reynaldo lives. A makeshift shanty town, built right on top of the layers of refuse.
Les gens s'installent un peu n'importe où.
People set up home anywhere, and the village here is getting bigger. Bigger all the time. When we first came here, there were no houses. But gradually people have moved in. There's not much space for them anywhere else. And as you can see, they're just made of wood and bits of plastic. And whole families are here, the kids, parents, grandparents.
Ça fait la maison. On met les enfants, on met la maman, on met la grand-mère.
There may be as many as 4,000 people that live here. It's hard to give an accurate figure, but whole families huddled on top of each other in just a few square meters. The kids play and wash without a care in the highly polluted water. At the end of the day, Reynaldo brings his family the little money that he's earned on the dump.
Hi!
Gandang hapon.
Did he make enough money today? I don't know.
Aywan ko. Siguro na lang.
But in your opinion, 68 pesos is pretty good, right?
Ngayon, ito. Ay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, it's very good, very good. Reynaldo and his family live here in a single room of barely 120 square feet.
Dito. Dito. 12. 12 kami na to.
12 of us sleep in here, 12. A table, a few bits of furniture, and no mattress. Reynaldo's family was driven here by the rural exodus.
Pumunta lang kayo dito.
Why did you come here?
Pakasakali.
To try our luck.
Tingin niyo po.
And in your opinion, is life better here or in the provinces?
Maganda rito dahil madali.
Well, what's good here is that it's easier to earn a living.
Tama lang din.
But on the other hand, the money goes very quickly.
Isip niyo po kung talaga yun.
What do you think about the fact that your children collect garbage?
Pre, nag-aalala din ako.
I'm worried, of course, they could have an accident. I'm worried because the risk is very high. I'd prefer them to do something else to earn money. But there's no other choice and our lives depend on it.
Kasi wala, dito lang kami maasa eh.
To bring assistance to the inhabitants of Smoky Mountain, Father Thomas and Abbe Matthieu have created a centre right in the heart of the shanty town. Once a day, like most of these young rag pickers, Reynaldo comes to eat a dish of rice and fish.
Okay. Ikaw rin, ayaw ba? Ayaw mo? Ayaw mo? Ayaw mo?
Ate yung kani nila.
Since these free meals started, the incidence of malnutrition amongst the children has almost disappeared. But on the hygiene front, there's still plenty of room for improvement.
Atiglo, what are you teaching them?
I teach them how to wash their hand. It's important before they eat, they should first clean their hands. When they are very hungry, usually they eat right away. So we have to remind them.
On a commencé par ce petit centre en fait qui a été monté.
We opened this small centre first to feed the kids and to get the kids ready for school.
Le plus grand centre ici. Où vous avez des enfants.
And then we built this bigger centre over here, where there are kids of all ages, preschoolers, and also to provide some basic schooling for the older kids.
Pour avoir des activités scolaires parce qu'ils vont pas du tout à l'école.
Reynaldo's work on the dump leaves him very little time to enjoy the centre. In his free time, the young rag picker dreams of another life. Well, later on I'd like to be a bus driver.
Pero,
Why?
Bakit may ganun kang isip?
Because my mother wants me to be a driver.
Reynaldo, sa palagay mo?
Ronaldo, what do you think you'll do when you grow up? Would you rather stay here or go and live somewhere else?
Sa ibang lugar.
Ito na lang.
I'll stay here.
Pero pag pag-driver ka? Ay, dito ka.
You see, it's beyond his imagination to live anywhere else. He's never been anywhere else. The only thing that he ever sees that's different from garbage is television, and that's not the real world, and that's beyond him. He's not even sure about that.
On se sent terriblement impuissant.
Sometimes it's hopeless, really. Okay, we provide food and we give some basic schooling. We also provide some medical support, which is good. I mean, it's great. We will continue doing that and even more. But we feel powerless because we see the kids, they're smiling, but the reality is that for most of the day they spend rifling through the garbage.
Elle reste là à fouiller les poubelles. À fouiller les poubelles.
Qu'on éprouve à certains moments des
And we have our moments of doubt and disappointment, but we have to get over them.
essayer de dépasser ces moments-là.
Otherwise we'll just get bogged down in despair. Is it easy?
Non, c'est pas facile.
No, it's not easy at all. Have you ever felt really discouraged?
Oui, j'en ai encore.
Yes, I still do sometimes.
Et j'en ai encore.
And I will have again.
Mais c'est l'espérance qui
But hope has to triumph, despite everything.
malgré tout.
But for the two priests, there's a more serious, more urgent problem than the kids on the dump, because at least they have a home, a family. On the other hand, there are kids in Manila who have lost everything. These are the street kids who haunt the sidewalks. Orphans who are fleeing the beatings and sexual abuse within their families. There are said to be more than 10,000 in the Philippine capital alone. For the Foundation's priests, These children are the first priority. It was for them that they created their first reception center 8 years ago. Here, around 30 children are learning how to live again. They're all aged between 3 and 18 and have just recently been picked up off the streets. For most of them, it's not their first day. Amongst the children here, many have come and gone several times, back to the streets. Others now are a little better adjusted, but all have gone through terrible sufferings, terrible ordeals. They survived on the streets by doing little jobs or thieving, and some, unfortunately, through prostitution. Assisted by Filipino educators, Father Thomas and Abbe Matthieu try to get the children used to a structured life again. The principal difficulty is to avoid them running away and falling back into the misery of the streets. A difficult task. All day long the two priests listen to the endless litany of the children's anxieties and doubts. Try and get the kids off the streets by telling them that they'll get a new t-shirt or a bed to sleep on in a quiet house. Well, you tell them that and they couldn't care less. But by making them understand that at the center we'll take care of them, then they'll come. That encourages them to stay as well. The challenge for us, for a kid off the streets, is to make them feel that they mean something to us, that they're valued, that he's not just another street kid. Like in a family, he finds his place. Every day, the foundation sends out teams to go up and down the streets of Manila talking to children. Today, Mac and Third are to meet a little gang from the Lawton neighborhood in the center of town. Most of them have already been to the center.
Those children who live there, though they have homes, they have families, but they have a less contact with their families, and they engage in substance sniffing. So this is their activity a whole day on the streets.
There are about 15 kids who decided to make their home on this waste ground, squeezed between two highways.
Lala, musta ka na, Lala?
They're aged between 12 and 19 years old. It's not yet midday, but most of them are already under the influence of rugby, an industrial solvent sniffed straight from the bottle or from a plastic bag.
They make them feel powerful. So they make things impossible to possible things. So sometimes they hallucinate that they have powers, that they could move suns or moons or stars. Or sometimes they could make things move. And they sometimes feel like Superman or their favorite cartoon characters or the food that they wanted to eat. They make such things possible.
In their bags, the educators always have a few games and some colored crayons. Simple activities that are really just a pretext.
Gusto maglaro?
Who wants to play with me? Me! What's the game then? Dominoes. All right, yeah, I know how to play dominoes.
The main purpose actually is to gain their trust. So once we gained already their trust, it's the time for us to come in the intervention we planned for them. So because it's very difficult for us to have an intervention to one child if they do not trust us.
Persuading the children to leave the streets is a long and tough job.
Alis na kami ha. Babalik kami sa Sabado.
It will need several encounters like this to finally persuade even one child from the group to go to the center with the educators. Mac is well aware of what the kids he meets are going through. He's 20. He himself was a rag picker and spent 5 years on the streets.
Those things that they've experienced right now, I've experienced the same also. Luckily, I've gone to that kind of situation. That's why I wanted them also to feel the same. Maybe they could change their lives somehow. Actually, I felt so sad because they do not understand what they are doing, because they themselves also are victims of circumstances, because there are a lot of people who are just ignoring this kind of situation.
It's when night falls that the priests and the educators from the foundation go out on their collection rounds. At night, the streets of Manila are swarming with kids left to their own resources. During these operations, called Big Night, the kids that were prepared during the day will be taken back to the reception center. Tonight, Abbe Matthieu and his team start their round with Divisoria, the biggest market in Manila, which operates day and night. With all its quantities of food within reach, it's the favorite refuge for many street kids. And there are dozens of them who sleep on the ground, in the shelter of the arcades.
Francis, on devait le prendre, c'est
Well, that's Francis. We wanted to get him. There he is over there, with the head shaved. But he's totally doped up on rugby. He knows that he can't come with us when he's high like this. He's put solvent on his jacket, you see, and that's what he's been sniffing and why he's stoned.
Hello, kumusta?
Hello, how are you? I'm very well, and you? I missed you, Father. I want to come with you. Okay, go and see Mac Mac. There are a lot of girls in the little group. The oldest is just 12. They are obviously the most vulnerable. In your opinion, is life on the street harder for girls or for boys? It's harder for girls. Why? Because they always risk being raped. There are men who might take you into nasty places. That's what I'm afraid of. Are there girls who do bad things to earn money? Yes, that's it, to earn money. Yes, there are. Well, even young ones? And how about you? From time to time? Yes. A girl is subject to prostitution and abuse, that's for sure. So even if there are more boys on the streets, 80–90% of all the kids on the streets are boys, but for the girls it's extremely perilous and much more urgent. But in Manila there are even more urgent cases than those at the market. The next stop for the Foundation's team is probably the most sinister place in the capital. The Sangandan Cemetery, in a poor neighborhood not far from the Smoky Mountain dump. How many have sought refuge here amongst the graves to escape the dangers of the streets? From all over, dozens of children spring up at the approach of the team. Some have been living here for years. And all are drugged on rugby, the solvent that is wreaking havoc. Look at the cross here. They're living inside a tomb.
Voilà, ils sont une trentaine là.
Yeah, there's about 30 of them in there.
Trentaine d'enfants.
About 30 kids.
Ils se réunissent parce qu'ils
They've all got together because they're watching TV, which somehow they've acquired.
Chacun paye un peso pour pouvoir regarder la télévision tous ensemble, quoi. Voilà, ce sont des jeunes. Le jeune qui avec son sachet de...
And that boy over there with his bag full of rugby, he used to be at the Foundation, but unfortunately he left, and he's got together with a girl, and there are their two kids. And that's his girlfriend, Jennifer. Marvin, there, and Jennifer.
La première fois que je suis
The first time I came here, I no longer knew what to think, because here it's a nightmare. It's like an awful dream. It's unreal. Kids that live in the graves.
Les enfants qui vivent dans des tombes, voilà.
They've chosen to live amongst the dead and leave life behind.
Et les vivants.
Leave the living behind. They've chosen the dead over the
C'est
living.
ce qui se passe ici. Mais regardez, ils sont tous sur les tombes.
You see, they're all up there on the tombs. They're sniffing glue, taking drugs.
Anna. C'est difficile, vous voyez, quand on a un
It's
groupe comme
difficult,
ça.
you see, when there's a group like this, it's to get the kids out.
Eh ben, c'est pas
And for them, it's hard to choose or even know paradise when you're in hell. The educators carry out an improvised medical check on a tombstone. In their first aid bag, they have stuff to treat cuts, scabies, and infections. Psychological support is a bonus.
Ils font soigner leur cœur. Donc ils montrent des toutes petites
They have cuts and bruises, most of them already healed.
petites blessures qui parfois sont déjà
Nothing serious.
il n'y a rien à faire, mais vous savez de mettre de la
But we put on some medication, some disinfectant anyway, so that we can try and talk a little with them.
C'est ça qu'ils demandent.
That's something that they really lack, and actually it's what they want. They want someone to take a little care.
Soigner là. Paquet à moi. Voilà. C'est une petite.
Yeah, you see, it's a tiny little cup. It's all healed.
C'est très clair. Pas du tout là. Ça,
It doesn't hurt him anymore.
Il recherche.
Yeah, he just wants some attention, some care. That's what they all
C'est
need.
ça dont ils ont besoin.
After spending several hours in the pathways of the cemetery, Abbé Matthieu and his team leave happy. 2 children have agreed to go with them. Back at the center, Abbé Matthieu has no illusions. 9 times out of 10, the children they pick up return to the street. For these 2 here, the game is not over yet.
C'est une première victoire.
At least they've come off the streets. The next step is that they're still here in the morning, and the step after that they're here tomorrow at the end of the day. It's a step-by-step process for each child, but the fact that they've left their group on the streets is already a massive achievement, a real first step. The second we'll deal with tomorrow. We'll just wait and see.